This story is a true story which happened in the streets of Nairobi. In the heart of Nairobi, along the busy streets of Kenyatta Avenue, there were two preachers who had perfected the art of conning unsuspecting individuals. Their scam was elaborate, and it preyed on the vulnerabilities of those who sought spiritual guidance or help. They worked together in a well-rehearsed act, using modern technology to deceive their victims into believing they had special prophetic powers. One sunny afternoon, a young woman named Sarah, new to Nairobi, was walking down Kenyatta Avenue when she was stopped by the first preacher. He was a middle-aged man with a warm smile, wearing a neatly pressed suit and holding a Bible in his hand. His presence was calming, and his voice carried the reassuring tone of someone who had a message of hope. "Hello, my daughter," the preacher greeted Sarah warmly, his voice smooth and inviting. "I sense you are troubled. May I know your name and what weighs heavy on your heart?" Sarah, feeling a sense of loneliness in the busy city, hesitated at first but eventually spoke. "I'm Sarah, and yes, I've been feeling lost lately. I don't know anyone in Nairobi, and I've been struggling with finding work. I feel like I'm just drifting." The preacher nodded, maintaining a compassionate expression. "Sarah, I understand. You have a heavy heart, but don't worry, God works in mysterious ways. I have a special gift. Would you like me to call a prophet who can pray for you and guide you through this hardship?" Sarah, unsure of what to expect but desperate for guidance, agreed. The preacher smiled, stepped aside, and took out a small, discreet microphone from his pocket. He spoke into it, his words barely audible. "Brother, it's time." From a distance down the street, the second preacher, dressed in similar attire but with a more mystical aura, immediately received the signal. He was waiting at a nearby corner, prepared to make his grand entrance. As he walked toward Sarah, he began calling her name. "Sarah! Sarah! The Lord has revealed your name to me," he proclaimed loudly. As he approached, Sarah froze, her eyes widening in disbelief. The second preacher walked up to her and, without missing a beat, continued. "I see your struggles, Sarah. You've been feeling lost, haven't you? You've been searching for a job but finding no luck. The weight of your troubles is heavy, but fear not. I am here to pray for you and lift you up." Sarah stood speechless, shocked at how this stranger knew so much about her life. How did you know?" she asked, her voice trembling. The preacher, with a calm smile, placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "The Lord speaks to those who listen, my child. You are not alone, and I will pray for your breakthrough." What Sarah didn't realize was that the second preacher was using the information Sarah had shared with the first preacher moments earlier. The microphone the first preacher had used was connected to the second preacher's phone, allowing him to hear everything Sarah had said. This allowed the second preacher to convincingly offer her specific details about her life, making it seem as though he had prophetic powers. As the preacher prayed over Sarah, promising her that her struggles would soon end, he subtly asked for a donation, telling her that her faith would be tested through her giving. He emphasized that giving would unlock the blessings if she needed. Feeling overwhelmed and desperate for a miracle, Sarah reluctantly handed over a small amount of money to the preacher, believing she was supporting a noble cause. The second preacher smiled, assured her that her life would soon change, and left her standing in the street, feeling both relieved and confused. Later, as Sarah walked away, she reflected on the encounter, but doubts began to creep in. Something didn't sit right. When she looked back, the first preacher had vanished, and the second preacher, too, had disappeared into the crowd. It wasn't until much later, when Sarah confided in a local friend, that she learned the truth. The two preachers were well known for their scam, using technology and clever theatrics to deceive people into thinking they were prophetic figures who could solve all their problems. Their strategy worked on the vulnerable, preying on their desire for a quick solution to their life's struggles. This story is a true story which happened in the streets of Nairobi. In the heart of Nairobi, along the busy streets of Kenyatta Avenue, there were two preachers who had perfected the art of conning unsuspecting individuals. Their scam was elaborate, and it preyed on the vulnerabilities of those who sought spiritual guidance or help. They worked together in a well-rehearsed act, using modern technology to deceive their victims into believing they had special prophetic powers.